towards a darker path. And let us be honest, we found that one friend appealing and exciting. We wanted their approval. After all, they were probably the coolest kid in school. But this is the beginning of the road towards a dark path for a lot of young people. And this may be the difference between whether you emerge as a hopeful, youthful leader or whether you descend into decadence. Now, our young population is our most productive. And how productive can the Nigerian young people be? I will say this right now. I will tell the story of 3 industries that young Nigerians have established by their own strength without government interventions. Not a single penny of government money or government policies went into that. They suffered through it. And in some cases, to build this industry took as long as 30 years. First and foremost, there is the comedy industry. Once upon a time, I don't think that comedy was even a thing in Nigeria. It wasn't even something we thought about. Yeah, well, if you were lucky, you ended up being cast as Jagwa or Samanja in a TV series. But that's about as far as it got. And then, sometime in the early 2000s, a group of young Nigerians who are, well, probably middle-aged now, but at the time they were very young. And they said, hey, let us invest our talents in something productive. We know how to make people laugh. And we have this wonderful tool, and that tool was Pidgin English. Can we apply that and bring Nigerian humor and do something similar to what these people in the West are doing? And it worked like a charm. And then we have so many legends, like Basket Mouth, Alibaba, Gordons. And they created an industry. And now if you want to hire a comedian, you do have to pay big bucks. And then there's the movie industry. Once upon a time, pretty much didn't exist. Yeah, we had the celluloid era and the Hubert Ogunde. We went through that time, but Western movies still dominated what we consumed. And then sometime in the 1990s, when everybody thought, hey, we're not going to be... As a matter of fact, the economy was so bad, we couldn't even afford to shoot on celluloid anymore. TV stations were even taking all of their pneumatic tapes, that's what it was called then, and they were wiping them out with news stories and everything. Nobody cared about the movie industry. And then a group of young people came and said, well, we have this idea. It's called living in bondage. They used their video cameras and recorded something and put it out there. People loved it, and it went on and on and on. And today, Nollywood is, well, they say this is the 2nd largest producer of films in the world. And then there's the music industry. Young Nigerians got up. Yeah, it was great. Maybe in the earlier days when we had the Victor Waifos and the Fela Nicola Pokutis, and it was good, but they were still playing second fiddle to Western music, which dominated our airwaves. But something began to happen in the early 2000s. Young Nigerians decided, hey, let's get in the studio and do things. And they started doing it. And then these songs started coming out. There was Olufumi, and then there was African Queen. And all of a sudden, Nigerians didn't even want foreign music anymore. If you turn on any radio in Nigeria, I dare you to do that. Most of what you will hear is music made in Nigeria, which means that young people can be quite productive. But that's not the only side of the story. It's also young people that are responsible for a lot of the crimes that go on out there. So young people who are being used as political thugs. It's young people who are largely engaged in ritual killings. So what does that mean? It's 2 sides of a coin. So we have a youthful population, which means that we could potentially have something great. But we could also potentially have something dangerous. So how do we go from dangerous to great? That's what I would like to find out this morning. So I brought in 2 gentlemen into the studio who should know much better than I can. First and foremost, let me introduce you to public affairs analyst, business education consultant, MD CEO of Dream Heights Global Consult Limited, Agaba Wilson, and also the national secretary of the Nigeria Youth Organization, national coordinator of the Green Assembly, and also a public analyst, Comrade Duke Atamboye.
Alamboye.
Alamboye.
Thank you very much for having me.
Sorry.
Thank you very much.
Good morning to both of you. So you've heard me go on and on about young Nigerians, but I think that if there is anything you would have detected from my voice, I am very passionate about young Nigerians. And when I say young, I mean it. I'm not one of those who think that I'm a youth at the age of 50. I've heard people say, oh, youthful governor. How old is he? 55, which means he's 5 years older than I am. Or, oh, youthful president. How old is he? He's 59. No, I think young people are younger than that. And yes, we are middle-aged. So, but we have to do the best that we can to create opportunities for those who are coming behind us, even as we struggle for our own opportunities as middle-aged men. Let us not take opportunities away from the younger people. So let me start with you, Wilson.
Yeah.
You know, you've listened to me. And how do we go from, the dangerous youth to the productive youth?
You see, you know me, I am somebody who really almost all the time don't want to put the box on the table of the leadership. But at the end of the day, the box stops there. We have not seen a leadership that understands our resources and has the will to utilize these resources positively. Every human being is like a tool that can be used positively or negatively. Left untended, they can be anything. You mentioned a few industry, and there's a very recent one that you even almost forgot, the skit industry. Which is making a lot of money. It has turned social media marketing, influencer marketing, all of those things came out of this skit industry. And this is changing the face of marketing in every industry today. So, to a large extent, the youth are standing up for themselves, and they are doing something great from nothing. Imagine what they would do if the government consciously makes an effort to harness their potentials. However, if the government refuses to do so, I think a lot of us can do something. Like what you are doing in the media today. We can come up with a lot of programs that can take the youth off and redirect their energy. Because one of the greatest characteristics of the youth is that they have energy. They have potentials, and they have to dissipate it on something. Give them something positive to dissipate it upon, and then you have a great country. But allow them to find something for themselves. Like you said, there are a few bad eggs, and they are very attractive. They are very tempting. So they can generate a lot of soldiers, and they can do havoc to you. So we need to, as a country, as stakeholders in different industries and at different tiers, to come up with things that can help us guide our youth aright. The government also should look into these issues, come up with programs that attend to youths. By youth, I mean youth, like you said it. Somebody said to me the other day, we're doing a youth, this, and we want you to be part of it. And I told the person, I am no longer a youth by the definition of youth. I'm still young and middle-aged, but I am no longer a youth. Let's not deceive ourselves. The definition says it caps it at 35. For most of the definitions I know.
But even if we stretch it, we can go to about 40.
Yeah, no, you see, but even that.
But now I have seen those who are even 55,
exactly.
60 who are
we need to really define the youth, right? And ensure that whatever program we target are targeted at the real youth, which forms the statistic of the 60%. Okay. It is not the 55 and 65 who are calling that.
I want us to have a discussion about the differences between being a youth and being youthful and all of the semantics. But before we do that, let's talk about the critical issues. Comrade, I will come to you now. And yes, there was an operational word that I heard from Wilson. That was energy. Young people have a lot of energy, and this energy needs to be deployed. It's not possible. I think that one of our biggest problems in Nigeria is we just assume that this energy can be suspended. It can't. It can either be deployed positively or negatively. So what are we missing when it comes to deploying the energy of our young people?
Well, thank you very much. That assertion is very, very correct. One of the characteristics of what makes a youth, in its real sense, is the energy, and where to put it in is the problem in our country. First of all, I want to say that I give kudos to Nigerian youth. When we talk about the generality of the Nigerian youth, I think we really put in our best into what we're supposed to do. He also rightly said, my colleague also rightly said that the issue is also going to the government, because except an enabling ground is placed for the Nigerian youth, for a youth of any country, that youth may not know where to put in his or her strength, our youthful strength. I think very obviously and very intentionally, we should have youth policy base. We've been advocating on this, except there are policies that guides our activities and our doings in the nation. Every other thing does not capture us as it is. For instance, you've graduated, there's no policy that guides you to having a job. If there are policies to say, look, as a graduate within 1 or 2 years, you should be, according to your grade or whatever, you should be having an employment opportunity at several stratas. That is number one, good policies. Number two, we're also advocating for a youth commission, a commission that will look into youth employment, youth enhancement, youth activism, everything that concerns youth, which will be quite different from the Ministry of Youth and Sports, as it were, or as it is now. The Ministry of Youth and Sports is totally concentrating on sporting activities, which, of course, I agree with you, occupies the strength of the youth.
It's good, but it's just one aspect.
Employability and financial provision, societal values and economic values. We do not see the ministry working up to its optimum responsibility. So we need a commission, a deliberate commission, youth commission, that will look into all of this and begin to correlate, bringing together the direction of youth in the country, where leadership trend will begin to, when these things are put in, it will begin to produce people that are different characters. You see people that are good politically, you see people that are good in terms of leadership, you see people that are good economically, you see people that are good in entertainment, but commission aspect of strength does it youth have? That is when you can determine the youth of the country are productive or not. As it is today, every youth, I can tell you for free, is beginning to have that character of self-employment, self-enablement. That's why you see so many people endeavoring into different things, what I want to call it positive or negative. Depends on the geographical area. For instance, if you go to the north, where farming is not even also viable, you see most of the youth now resorting to what you would call unproductive activities. To them, is productive, because by then they engage themselves. I'm condemning criminalities and kidnapping. But at a time where there is no help, youths are beginning to resort to self-survival, and using what is obtainable at the moment. So if you go to some areas, there are viable one or two things that have been put in place. For instance, in the east, the southern region of this country, you have the internet. There's great awareness of the internet activities. So some of the youths have also engaged themselves also negatively or positively, as you can say. So you see the what they call the Yahoo business thriving. You will see people online sales thriving to some persons. So these are where the country youths are trying to engage themselves, and that is because there is no deliberate law. There are no deliberate laws that can govern, that can guide youths from youthful age or youths to the to the adolescent age, and then whatever age you want to talk about it. So these are policies and rules and our constitution guides only what they call the Nigerian elites. So if you go from page 1 of the constitution down to the end, you do not see where deliberately constitution.
There's a policy
that from so these are the provisions the law is giving. In some countries we've seen where at a certain age you graduated, you've not gotten a job, the country gives you stipends to run your person, because at that stage they feel that you're supposed to be independent of parental guidance. So these are the issues around it. But I think to a greater extent, the Nigerian youth, in my own opinion, we are not doing well for the sake that a few percentage are not doing absolutely not well. Does not mean that we're not doing well. We can also regionalize it.
I will tell you,
Yes.
comrade,
Yes.
what I think of the Nigerian youth. I think the Nigerian youth is doing very well on the whole. It's sad that what goes out there in the media are the activities of those who are doing the negative. But most places where you go to, especially when you see online shopping, our young ladies, I look at their statuses, and they're either selling one thing or the other. They're engaged in one thing. So I think that overwhelmingly our young people want to do the right thing. They want to do something good, but the environment is harsh. Wilson.
You see, like you said, well, one of the reasons the bad things are always out there is, as you people say it in media, good news is no news.
Yeah, it's bad news.
Bad news is the gold mine. And so for that,
but there's also bad news bias, and there is this particularly when people have branded you in a certain way.
Yes.
Then there is bad news bias. For example, I'll give you a typical example. When it comes to gender.
Yes.
Men steal public funds all the time.
Yes.
And nobody defines the actions of the men who steal as definitive of the character or behavior of men in general.
Yes.
It's accepted as one of those things, and it's that person who's considered bad. But if a woman were to do the same, it will now be, I assure you, you will find someone who will say, oh, women say give us a chance, and then you give them a chance, here is what they do.
Exactly.
Why is it that the action of that woman is definitive of the gender? But I think that Nigerian youths are suffering the same thing, because there's racism in the world. There is also what do you call it? There's when you have a bias against people who are foreigners, xenophobia.
Yes, yes.
So when one Nigerian participates in a Yahoo scam, the entire Nigerian youths are painted in it, as in spite of the fact that if you were to take a statistic, the young Nigerians who have contributed to the economy of that country far overwhelm the number of those
few ones who did something
negative.
Yeah, that's the truth. Though, like I was saying, we have met a lot of great young Nigerians that took their destinies in their hands, and some of them, against all odds, decided not to do what is wrong, but to focus on something positive, contribute vis-a-vis to a society that contributed nothing to them, apart from hosting them from birth. But you see, they don't make the news that much. A lot of us try to promote them. We had one that was winning gold in one of the sport competition recently. Was it Toby or somebody?
Toby Amosa.
Yes, there are a lot of them. There are the Anthony Joshua. A lot of them that rose from the ashes and then became something. They applied themselves in sport. He mentioned sport. And I was talking to a governorship aspirant earlier this year when I was close to one. I told him, my state, for instance, is there are a lot of resources that you can wake up and then the youth will be taken off the street and criminals will not find enough youth to use. You have inter-school sport competition. You can have the local government sport competition. Each of them have clubs. You can fund it properly. It will generate a lot of job. It will provide opportunity for sponsorship and all of that. If you come to the area of agriculture, a lot can be done there. I talked about Abuja transportation. We don't all need to drive every day to work. If we have a robust transport system, and since we are known for pilfering, then let's not pay cash. Let's use the card system. And since some people will not have cards, let's have agents at the bus stop who can collect your cash and then charge you a little bit and pay on your behalf. That way, we have created a lot of jobs. So there are a lot of things we can do. If we do them right, jobs will be created for this youth. Another thing I always talk about is, if you have a system, if you have a society that does not have any system to pick out exceptionally talented youths and put them in place where they can use their ingenuity to solve national problem. They are going to use that ingenuity to cause national problem.
If you don't use them to solve national
Yes.
problem.
So we have youths now who can produce drone. I saw one on a TV station the other day, and he studied on his own, watched videos on YouTube, and he can create his drones, and he can alter them, great improvement, and he was talking about it as if he was taught about it in school. And there are people who study from using YouTube and internet. They can write programs, very complex programs that can do a lot of things. So you see, our youth are taking advantage of the internet, learning skills that can change the fortune of this nation. But the country has no system to sieve this our elite genius to where they should be useful. So somebody who is bad sees them, he picks them up. And of course, if I have a talent, I want to showcase it. If you wouldn't give me an opportunity, anyone who gives me an opportunity, I'm going to use it.
Go to the person who will give me that opportunity.
And you can imagine somebody who have this talent and then he's hungry. And somebody say, come and use it, I'll give you food. So there are a lot of things we can do by putting the right system in place. And there are certain things in this country that should be corruption proof.
You said something very interesting, Wilson, and I would like Comrade to maybe weigh in on that. And this is, when you don't spot and develop the talent of young people, you run the risk of people from the darker side recruiting and using this talent. And I'm even looking at what's happening in the northeastern part of Nigeria, where we have a lot of young people who have been recruited to terrorist organizations and all of that. And we have seen how successful they have been, even at embarrassing the government. And this is down to their brilliance as young people. And you can imagine if this talent was being used instead to protect the country. So how can we develop a system that is able to identify gifted youths?
It's very easy. It's very easy. I keep saying it at different fora. We've had security meetings, and I've also suggested this. Look, like you rightly observed, the youths that are perpetrating this evil at the northern part of our country, to succeed, trained military personnel, whether the police or the army, whatever you want to call them, it means that they have some level of perfection. They know what they are doing to time and operate successfully.
Some ingenuity.
It means they are good at what they are doing. So what is stopping the Nigerian force, military force, to put up an advertorial, to put up a space to accommodate those ones into the security force and train them properly, like you said, for the right purpose?
Because but there's some who will say that, oh no, well, we don't even want them because they've killed people.
No, that is not true. That's what we're saying. Situation have made them occupy where they could be productive and earn a living. In their own thinking or in their own opinion, that is where it is favoring. And you and I know, of course, the CBN governor has even come out to say that most of Nigerian currencies are in the hands of the kidnappers. If they aren't good, that is success. But of course, we are saying that it's condemnable and it's in the negative aspect of progression. So what do we do to salvage this?
The solution is in the problem.
They are openings. It's not a problem. It's for government to be articulate. It's not a problem. These children, what are they engaged in? Terrorism. Can we confine them? If the Nigeria is having a war with other countries now, they are useful soldiers. But they are left to a corner where they want to earn a living with it, but negatively. So the security agency should open the space for employment, absorb them, give them the 3 hours, reorient them, recreate them, and revive them into the system. The way they will become more useful and know that their talents should be used for national gain and then also earn a living. That is the first solution to that problem. If you ask me, it's not just chasing them. The more you're chasing them, the more you're running them into hardship. And the more it gets harder for them, the more they think of what to do, but negatively again. So, in as much as we are condemning and then we also, okay, pursue them to a hold where you could bring them, give them the reorientation, insert them into sectors that are their talents are relevant, and they will make good productivity. I can also tell you, if you go down to the south, most likely the south, where at the time prostitution was at its peak. Today, those girls, all of them, they are aware now, because several governments, let me quickly say, somebody like Okowa and the Edo State governor have taken it upon themselves, because it was almost seeming like the female youths within that region, their occupation now is prostitution. So they deliberately engaged them. I know 1 or 2 programs Okowa did in in Delta State rather, and it has coped them. Today they are all fashionists. They are what they call them,
makeup
artists. They are selling online. They are in the market doing grinding, doing all of this. So until governments are deliberate, and then I still insist, if these things are enshrined in the constitution, it then means that it will be captured on our yearly activities, monthly activities, and daily activities. That is the deliberate way we can get out of this, except so that you can owe anybody responsible to say that, look, these are the privileges and rights given to you by in the constitution, and you've erred. Today, some youths perpetrate all sorts of evil vices, and then do you know, politicians even try to make them friends for fear of not getting the right thing. He said something: if you don't use them for the right purpose, they will use themselves.
Someone will use them for the wrong purpose.
So this is the situation we find ourselves. So until it is still deliberate, and then when it is deliberate, we need a compass where these things will be guided. So many, so sometimes we see so many advertisers on employment, but you begin to wonder, who are they employed? Nobody. And that is because it's sectionalized. A minister comes in, gets into the ministry, sees 1 or 2 opportunities for employment, and then puts his household around there. But if there is a commission, a youth commission, even employment in the country, provisions for employment will be orderly. Almost every ministry, down to the local government level of that ministry, they employ. So the commission, the youth commission, will be availed to those opportunities, those informations, where we will say, look, on our data page, these are the number of persons that can go into this sector. These are the number of youth that can go into this sector. Because we know that our youth to a greater extent, if the youth statistics or data that will be provided suggest that Nigerian youths are productive in a production for a production company, then Nigeria policies should be driven towards a production, so that esteeming youth will be efficiently, put to use.
All right, now
so these things are very easy. It's just that the will and the this thing is not there.
Both of you gentlemen have led me to a path that is rather slippery. It's a deep conversation that I wish to have, and it's about the interest and focus of some of the young people that we have today, and some of the pluses and minuses. And this has to do with the entertainment content that our young people consume or wish to participate in. So don't go away. We'll be right back right after the break.
Nigeria go better. Nigeria go better. Nigeria go better. Nigeria go better. If Nigeria go better, now your hand is there. If Nigeria go better, now my hand is there. Make we join us together, make Nigeria for better.
Hi there, I'm Muna Aka of Citizen FM 93.7, and I'm here wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Hi everyone, this is Didi of Citizen FM 93.7. Here is wishing you a Merry Christmas and a fantastic New Year. Have fun!
Well, welcome back. This is still Citizen FM 93.7, and you're listening to the Super Citizen at Sunrise. My name is Stanley Bentu. The time is 8:38, and I've been spending it with Agaba Wilson and Comrade Duke Alamboye. We're talking about young Nigerians. Statistics say that people who are under 30 constitute a good 60% of our population. Now, that is a lot. And these are people who are packed with so much energy. And if we don't deploy that energy positively, well, then certainly somebody else is going to deploy it negatively. So what are some of the policies and what are some of the deliberate things that we need to do in order to harness this young population that we have? If you have any thoughts, I'll open up the lines, and the lines will stay open until the end of the program. You can feel free to call us at any time, but do call 0903 22 29 797 or 0818 22 22 205 or 0808 22 22 037. And there was something that I've been thinking about, and this is it's something that the United States is struggling with right now. It's a broader conversation, but for instance, TikTok. And what I've learned from my research is, when you look at the TikTok content that young people are consuming in China, where TikTok originated from, is different from the kind of TikTok content that is being consumed in America. And top government officials in America are saying that the owners of TikTok are manipulating the algorithms to reward stupid behavior in the United States, but they are using it to reward intellectual behavior in China as a way of socially eroding the intellectual fabric of the American youth. Because they say if you want to destroy a country, you start with the children, you start with the youth. And it got me thinking, okay, on the one hand, we have, let's say, the Big Brother phenomenon, which is a TV show. I can see the opportunities. Lots of young people go in there and then they have opportunities that they ordinarily would not have had. But there's also the downside where some people are saying, okay, maybe our youths are just too enthralled and too mesmerized by this. And not really focusing on some of the things that can actually benefit them themselves or their countries. And after all, this is a system that will give a break to very few young people. So I don't know. It's a slippery slope. It's a delicate balance. So I don't know. What's your view? Let me start with Wilson.
Stanley, the truth is every business model is built on want, not need. And I used to tell my clients and trainees, as well as students, that, you see, the job of a marketer is not to tell you what you need. It's to help you see what you need as what you want. Because people buy what they want, not what they need.
Okay.
All right? So research has proven that over and over again. So it is a dicey thing to say, but it is only natural that what people like more, because the TikTok algorithm works this way. The more likes and views you have on your video, the more you earn, right? So if in China, because of their antecedents, they are more drawn to intellectual activities, then there will be more views of intellectual videos and contents. All right, that means they have more views on that in China, and so they earn more, so they tend to do more of that. But in a society where the intellectual activities are not appreciated by many, maybe because of the antecedent, which is also what we are suffering in Nigeria, I could say that our situation is likened to that of the USA, like you have mentioned. We tend to go for the frivolities, inanities, things that don't actually add much to us, but it keeps us occupied. It keeps us excited. So the content makers are going to make so much such content. I mentioned earlier about the skit industry. There's a particular skit maker. I watch every part of every skit that he has ever released until he started turning into something else. His content became more about female with extras and things I can't say on the radio. But he got more likes because more people were interested in it. All right? And so, but for someone like me, I got disinterested because there was nothing to learn from it anymore. But he got more likes. I stumbled on his one of his channel the other time, and I saw that the likes have increased. The subscription has increased. So he's going to keep going that way. He didn't start out that way. But that's what's moving
But
market.
that's, yes. So,
So you see, our young ladies now, they come out, if they want to teach about, say, makeup or dressmaking or something, they won't see a lot of people watching their videos. But if they are able to show their body, do some erotic things, they see thousands of men coming to their wall and all of that. And that's how TikTok pays them. So you see, this is not a question of, in my opinion, TikTok using the people. It's a question of the antecedents of the people and their deep-seated mindset rising up against them. And TikTok has given it a platform to magnify itself. So that is how I see it. It will bring us to the question of moral decadence
yeah.
at different level. But let you drive the conversation.
Yeah,
anyway.
comrade. Yeah, let me allow you to weigh in on this. And yes, it's something clearly that I've heard many times, especially when it comes to social media content. There are people who will tell you, "Oh, you're here doing this educational thing. Forget it. Nobody is going to look at it. Or you know what? People want to laugh. They want to do this. So they want to look at women with extras," as Wilson says. So there is a way in which this rewarding of that kind of behavior influences what young people do. Even as Wilson, the example he gave, even as you have someone who starts out not wanting to do that, but the moment he does something edifying, it's maybe 10 views, 15 views, 20 views, and then when you do that titillating stuff, you get 1,000, 20,000, 10,000, and then there's that dopamine hit that comes to you like, oh, this is the right thing, this is the good thing to do.
Yeah, let me take a very close example of my own page. The last program I went for is the youth summit in Delta State, Asaba, precisely. I've posted few photographs on my platform. You see few likes. But when I post maybe birthdays of anything that interests the market environment, you see people react swiftly to it, like it, comment, and all of that. So that is where we are. I think these handles or these platforms being created, it differs. Let me take you back to the NSAS period. I was one of the advocates that says that NSAS shouldn't be scrapped. It should rather be the activities of NSAS should be redefined, because I know, working close with the security agencies, I know that there are some areas they need those SAS outfits. Yes, largely in the country, most areas, most states, the SAS function helped reduce daily criminality,
Violent crime.
because that was the only outfit that pursued these criminals to their doors. They had that how will I call it, they had that
They had the tenacity.
to doing that.
And
So
the iron will.
it heightened them a little bit above the police operation. Again, few very minor aspect of their personalities are resorted into, because we know we can get to the people. They started perpetrating, using that platform to perpetrate. This is what I liken to those TikToks and especially social media platforms. We are in a very corrupt and immoral world. I don't want to say nation, world, in the world. If today I post vis-a-vis, post an immoral this thing, whatever, scene,
Video
and
or
post
image.
an educational, let us compare one time. Let us compare which we have today. So I think it is not TikTok that is the problem. It is the market that is the problem. What are the Americans youths interested in? So instead of talking about banning TikTok, I think there should be regulations as to what the Nigerian government intended doing, but they got it right. Sorry, they got it wrong. Policies have a way it directs the operator and the user. The operator is aware that, okay, I think recently now on Facebook, or is it Twitter, there are certain things you post, they will begin to want to bring they will bring it down themselves because they have gotten such limitations. So I think it is not the platform that is the problem, it is the market. So the Americans should rather look into what is obtainable in their market. How does this influence the market? Begin to put up policies that will redirect. If you do this, A, B, C, D on TikTok, these are the penalties. And the TikTok is also aware that these are the laws that guide our operation in country A, in country B. So therefore, in country A, they are checkmating the do not and the do's, the what you're supposed to do. So this is the right way to go about it.
So
He said
I'm
something
looking
here.
at within the Nigerian context.
Within the Nigerian context,
And
I'm coming to that's where he hammered on the Nigerian context. That's why I moved a little bit away from it. It's similar thing in the Nigerian content. I also know that recently, and that is because of the COVID-19 period, people are so much aware of the positive engagement on media, social media, for instance. The Nigerian populace, not even only the youths, but let's streamline to the youths, became so aware that you could do a lot positive things online. It gave way to Zoom meeting, it gave way to WhatsApp meeting, it gave way to group WhatsApp group discussions and all of that. We'll come to the economic part of it. People began to be aware that you could actually stay at home and sell some goods, and all you just need to is to contact without even seeing the buyer. You could just contact a logistics personnel to do that. So you can see that the chain of communication and positive usage on social media became known prior to the time that all we know on social media was to watch videos, listen to music, go to porn areas and all that. So the same thing, if we begin to change the mindset, rather bring up content, positive content, deliberately bringing up positive content, like I insist, there's nothing stopping the government, state government, federal government, local government to also be putting their instead of doing what they call commissioning of projects, get bloggers, gather your project and put it on social media. People will gradually begin to be engaged with productivity. Those skill acquisition programs you do, don't do physical again. Channel to the social media front and say, if you watch, if you like, if you do this, then you're entitled to this. You begin to change the mindset of why people should go or why youth should go on the social media front. But if you leave it open, we all have our areas of interest. And like I tell you, immorality abounds faster. So people want to watch the nudes and all those immoral videos they post more than for self-satisfaction. But if they begin to perceive that the trend is changing productivity, at a time we saw comedians were not doing physical comedy, they were online comedies, and it also attracted followership. So it depends on what we want to happen that happens, that trends. If you report a very terrible accident, you see it gets trending. So those things can also be applicable to trade, economic values, social values, financial values. Banks should also begin to engage the social media front to tell people what is profitable in the banks, not until you have the opportunity to go to the bank, because the social media front is open. But presently, it is open for those persons that want to do what they want to do to attract the flow of traffic.
All right, Wilson, I want to come back to you with this question, just riding on everything that Comrade has said. As an educator, how do we communicate with our young people? Because it's not as if these attempts are not there. They are there all the time. You know, government officials always come and say, oh, yes, we want to put this out. But I've identified a flaw in the way the government often wants to communicate with the public. I don't know what is responsible for this flaw, whether it is the selfish tendency of the person who's initiating the project, and so the person wants to check in the box that, okay, we were the ones who achieved this project, or whether it is because there is a budget attached to this, And the bigger interest is seeing that this budget goes to who and where it's supposed to go, or whether it is the objective of that communication. I will explain. Very often, when there is any kind of youth engagement, public officials tend to go to what I call the usual suspects. Give us a jingle. Give us a this thing. And at the end of the day, tell them, because we're giving you plenty money, say the Ministry of Information and Culture is sponsoring this message. And most times, because of the trust deficit between the public and the government, the moment you brand that message, it's lost. So, if the government is going to communicate to youths and say we want to support skip makers, can they actually do it without wanting to say, this is me, I'm the minister of this and that, and I'm the one who gave you money to do this? Because I know other governments have done this. I've given this example several times. The US government realized that recruitment for their Navy pilot scheme was low, so they sponsored the movie Top Gun, Tom Cruise. They got the biggest Hollywood director. They said, get us the biggest star. They had somebody who... So basically the government did not have a prominent face on the project. They took a back seat. And the effect of that was recruitment went up by over 200% in the coming years after that. But can the Nigerian leadership actually have that focus on the objective where they will say, no, I don't want it to be me commissioning. I want to put this money because I want the objective to be met.
Stanley, I will start with this. The Nigerian government, when they do something, it is never for the intrinsic value of that thing.
Okay, well, that's an absolute.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be as absolute as that.
All right. It is almost always not for the intrinsic. Yeah, let me use almost so that I can leave a small part. Because I have observed the trend that the Nigerian politician, which is not very unusual anyway, is always more conscious of the next election than he is about the progress, the actual progress they will make. Take, for instance, if I know that if I remove fuel subsidy, for instance, it's going to free more money to the government, and then we can build the infrastructure that can create lasting, sustainable economy. But on the other hand, if I remove this fuel subsidy, fuel price is going to go up, and people are going to feel hardship, and they won't vote for me. I will not remove the fuel subsidy, even though that is the best thing for the country. I want to win the next election. Okay? So basically, when budgets are made, they are made with the mind of rewarding somebody who helped me during the election. So the project must go in a way that it must reward that person.
And we are actually running out of time,
You know-
so let me just let you round off on this point.
Okay.
Yes.
So basically, what happens is that we don't usually explore what will work. I'll give you a very quick example before we go off.
No, well, very quick.
Okay. At the onset of the Muhammadu Buhari administration, I said national reorientation and re-education was key, but it must not be handled by the government. They should get the youth to do their thing. But then they came up with change begin with you. When was the last time you heard about it? What was the impact?
So
that's
if
the kind
the
of
young
thing I'm saying.
people take ownership,
If he has pushed it to the Buhari supporters online to do these things,
and left it to them,
leave it to them.
the effect would have been different.
It would have been different.
All right. Well, we still have
Different and
more to
positive.
talk about, yeah, but we do have to leave this conversation here. But I think that we have learned a lot as to exactly how we can communicate with our young people. Thank you so much, Agaba Wilson, Comrade Duke Alamboye. It's been a pleasure having you both on the program.
Thank you very much, Stanley.
All right, don't go away because Insight comes up next, and this is right after the sunny side of sports. But do have a lovely